A story that no doubt any rugby league supporter has been privy to hearing about, and that's Matthew Lodge and his presence at the Brizzy Broncos. And a reason why I want to sort of delve into this, it's a topic that both Cuth and I have been speaking about at length during the week. We even actually had a bit of a phone call yesterday. Like, this is just how much we love talking about footy and stuff. But yeah, just the controversy that it's sort of caused in what I guess I see as unnecessary terms. Would you think?
Yeah, I think it's over the top sometimes. Well, it has been lately. Kind of just rubbing his face in the dirt a bit, but there's two sides to it as well.
Exactly right. So, for those, in case you've been fucking living under a rock the last week, because it's been all over Fox Sports Australia and NRL.com and whatnot, Matthew Lodge, the former West Tigers front rower, was embroiled in a scandal, for lack of a better word, in New York at the end of 2015, where he followed two German backpackers, I believe they were, through the streets of Manhattan. They felt mighty uncomfortable with his presence there on like a sexual assault level, basically. They sought help by just hitting a buzzer on an apartment block. A gentleman was kind enough to let them in and give them refuge. Matt Lodges then proceeded to barge through that door, and that gentleman has a wife and a young child there as well. They apparently barricaded themselves into a room in that apartment, which Matt Lodge proceeded to assault the man, bash the fuck out of him basically, and then trash the joint as well. So...
Which, let's be honest, is shocking.
It's fucking horrifying, man. And the fact that a young child was involved in that, and you never want to, bring male violence into a female world, and you most definitely don't want to bring that into a child's world. Where things start to get squirrely is obviously, he's overseas. So that's a daunting case. And we know that the American justice system is god-awfully harsh. It's a lot more centered around punishment rather than rehabilitation.
Yeah.
But I guess coming from Matt Lodge's standpoint, fortunately for him, he was able to come back to Australia and serve community service. I think he got 200 hours. But as a result of that civil lawsuit, he was stung with $1.6 million in damages to that family.
And he'd served 2 weeks in prison.
Yeah, he did two weeks in an American prison. So
he got off pretty lightly there with that.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
So that happens at the end of 2015. He's pretty well nowhere to be seen on a professional level since. Was given a bit of a lifeline with the Redcliffe Dolphins, who I was involved with the season prior, and has a remarkable season in my opinion. I was fortunate enough to get out to a couple of games, and to be frank, he looked like a man amongst boys.
Yeah, that's all the reports I've heard as well.
It was destroying. And I think at that level, he was able to showcase a crazy amount of ability that he had, not too unlike a Jake Trbojevic at Manly, who plays a lot of first receiver, as did Graham at the Bulldogs.
Cassiano with his ball skills.
Yeah, for sure. So, look, that was something that I flagged straight away. I'm like, well, he's on a path to get back into the game. And then all of a sudden, here we are, Wayne Bennett, the Lord and Saviour of Brisbane, here to give him a lifeline. And it's pretty obvious that a lot of players that are on that Broncos roster, Wayne Bennett has a soft spot for trying to help these players. And I think rugby league, and this is as a biased rugby league fan, staff member, coach, former player, however you want to label me in that rugby league community, it is biased. I understand that, but I love that rugby league can be an outlet for someone who everything exterior to that, their world is fucking crumbling.
Yeah.
If that can be that one thing that they can cling on to, and it is a fucking dangerous dance that you get into when you start to associate your identity as only a rugby league player. And no doubt Matt Lodge would have had to have gone through that post this incident.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to see now that all this shit starts to resurface. All of a sudden, this CCC footage starts to come up. It's on NRL 360 the first 3 nights on Fox Sports.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
they're milking it.
They're
milking it for what it's worth before the season starts. And,
yeah.
You know, before he has a chance to actually really get started on proving himself in the public eye.
Yeah, correct.
So they're making sure they're getting their buck, they're bang for their buck now, which we know that's what the media do. But yeah, I think that he needs to be given a fair go and he needs to be defended as well.
Yeah. Like, as a Broncos supporter, because I'm seeing a lot of, you know, it's low-hanging fruit on social media. You see basically every other club start hammering Bronx supporters, and it's all that stigma, and I think that's part and parcel of general banter of rugby league online. Typical Broncos, you know, sort of thing. What's your personal take on being a Broncos supporter yourself, on having someone with that sort of reputation come to a club that you're proud to support?
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, my opinion on it is that he's young. Mm-hmm. He's, what, 23?
23 or 24. Yeah.
So he's incredibly young. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's got the talent to play NRL. Wayne Bennett's put him starting front rower this week. Yeah. Clearly, he's got the talent. Clearly, he's got the ability. His record's bad, and it wasn't just that one isolated incident either. There was other incidents.
Yep.
But I think that, like, even though we do know that NRL players are role models, we know that that's it, black and white. I think that he does deserve a chance to prove himself, and I think that if he can come in and actually prove himself and keep clean and turn around what he's done, he did something terrible, but if he can turn it around and use that to propel him forward into something more positive, then I think that, if anything, it's going to be good for the game to see that these blokes that are volatile and are bad on the piss and whatever can actually turn it around. He could actually be a role model for younger players, and it could actually be the start of something bigger and better for the game.
Yeah, for sure.
And I do understand people blowing up about it, but I also think that people are blowing up because they're jealous that we're getting him as a player. Because I think he's a great player, and I think that any club would want to have him.
That's true.
The Knights offered him 400,000, and he chose to stay with the Broncos, or to sign with the Broncos for, I think it's 100,000, whatever the minimum is.
Yeah, it is bare minimum, which is 100,000.
100 Gs. I mean, I wouldn't be complaining with 100 Gs, but I don't have 1.6 million of debt either. So.
Exactly. And I guess that is the big complaint at the moment, that apparently, to the best of my knowledge anyway, he hasn't paid any of that back to the family. But I think what I'd like to uncover is, not necessarily uncover, but delve into a little bit more, is what happens in those instances. So a lot of people use the example of, you know, put yourself in that American's family's shoes, or those women's shoes on that night, and think, if you would think about Matt Lodge and giving him a second chance. I like to try and peel this one deeper and say, well, let's go into Matt Lodge's shoes. And now we sort of spoke about the podcast, and he sort of gave me permission to go down this route. So Matt Lodge, next to his name, he has a common assault charge on a criminal record. Unfortunately, you have the same charge next to your name. So what is so post that sort of incident, my assumption would be you go quite insular and quite internal and think, I've sort of got to look after me and mine. I don't really... Because you when this sort of thing happens, you're in a state where you're not thinking clearly. Oftentimes you're under the influence of God knows what.
Yeah, I was pissed.
Pissed. So you sort of are left... And again, it's not an excuse, but it's facing facts. You wake up and you're like, I can't really defend what you're saying because I don't have any recollection of what you're saying.
Yeah, that's right. In this case, did Matt Lodge have he claimed that he had no recollection? Is that right?
I don't even think it was necessarily that, but it was just pretty obvious. I think he said he woke up and he was handcuffed to a fucking bed. He was arrested with guns drawn and stuff like that. So, you know, it's an even more escalated situation that you would find yourself in domestic Australia.
Absolutely.
You know, you're not off something like that. It's pretty rare that an Australian police officer is going to draw his guns in that sort of situation. You're going to get tased or something before anything like that happens. So.
And that's only if you really push it. I've never even been tased.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Thank Christ. But no, like I can relate to Matt Lodge in a way, because around the same age group, 22, 23, I was pretty out of control. And that was due to some mental health issues and some behavioural issues as a result of that, and a lot of alcohol abuse and drug abuse, not drug abuse, but drug use. And so I can relate to that feeling of regret and remorse, going, shit, what have I done? Where do I go from here? And I didn't want to be telling everybody about it. I wanted to deal with it within myself, but I also at that time, personally, I didn't have the maturity to actually deal with it necessarily the right way either. So for him, like, he's kind of been forced into it, but he's kind of been forced to actually mature and forced to grow up. And so I think for him, it's probably better that this has happened a bit younger, because I feel like he has actually learnt from it. I feel like he has changed.
Do you think having to have all this sort of shit resurfaced again 3 years later, and you're talking about maturity and whatnot, and it forcing him to grow up, do you think it would be harder or easier now having to face this all again?
I think it would be easier, to be honest, because he's been through it before, and he's learned probably learned a lot more coping mechanisms with coping with that guilt and all that sort of stuff. Okay. It's never as intense after the first time. So he's learned that. He's probably dealing with it better. And if anything, it probably just makes him go, well, like, you know, fuck everyone, I'm going to prove you wrong. It's probably going to put him, it's probably going to make him focus more on actually proving everyone wrong. So they're probably, like, the media are probably doing him, even though it doesn't seem like it, they're probably doing him a favour. Yeah. Because he's going to go, you know what, stuff is, he's aren't convinced yet, fair enough, that's fine. I didn't want to talk about it yet. I wanted to let my actions do the talking. That's what I feel like he's wanted to do. And there was a lot of people blowing up earlier in the week, like journalists, saying he hasn't come out and spoken openly about it. Well, that's probably because he might not be a talker. He might just want to get out there, play good footy, get out in the community and do good things, and use his actions to prove that he has changed, instead of talking about it in the media all the time, because that doesn't say anything. How many press conferences has Jared Hayne had about what is next, about, you know, I'm happy to be at the Titans or this and that, and it's all just, things have changed, and it's all just crap. He just wanted to take action. Yeah.
And Ben Eichen, you know, sort of hammered the Broncos quite heavily with how they have dealt with this whole issue. You know, sort of
sweeping under the rug.
Yeah, locking him in, and he sort of tried to use other examples as well. You know, James Roberts. He essentially he used the example that Wayne Bennett said, basically, if he fucks up, he's gone, and it was between him and Dale Copley. All of a sudden, he still gets involved in that incident of pulling that chick's hair, and then Dale Copley's on the outer and he's punted. Has since been at 2 clubs now, so he's basically been I guess the benefactor of someone else's fuck up. Unfortunately, but don't you think though that it sort of is a responsible thing from a club to say, well, let's not let this boil over when we don't need it to. Let's try and create, because we now know that Matt Lodge had an interview with Yvonne Sampson yesterday, which is going to be released on Fox tonight. Don't you think that is a smarter way to deal with it, so that he can focus on his job? Because like, let's not forget, like, this is a fucking high pressure business now. It is a results based. If Broncos go down to Jubilee Stadium tomorrow night and fucking lose, they are up against it, because next week they are facing the competition favourites. Absolutely. So, and then if they lose that, if they're 0-2, and then it's like, you know, they're under the pump. It's like they need, in my opinion, they need him focused on footy. And I think it's quite apparent from the little samples that I've seen. He's still very emotional about it. And to still be, you know, you're not seeing a guy stereotypically, massive dude, 120 kilos, covered in tats. You know, you are going to start to label people like that. So for someone to be that emotional still, this, like, he is fucking thinking about it.
Absolutely.
You know, he has not fucking gotten over it.
I can tell by looking at him. I'm telling you now. I know that I know that he is remorseful. I know that he wants to change. It's just a matter of him actually doing it. And I think Wayne Bennett and I think Matt Lodge would have chosen to go to the Broncos, probably predominantly because Wayne Bennett is the coach and because he knows that Wayne Bennett is like a father figure.
Yeah, well, look how many blokes have followed him around.
So many. Darius, James Roberts is stuck there, and Wayne Bennett's taking him under his wing. I don't think any club will ever. I don't think James Roberts will ever leave the Broncos because he feels like he owes Wayne Bennett, or not owes, but he feels so at home with Wayne Bennett.
Yeah.
And I feel like Bennett, like at the end of the day, Bennett's job is to win football games, is to win premierships. He knows that too, and that's why he wants.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it has been a long time, and he's growing. He's more and more under pressure,
Yes.
and he probably thinks, "I want to get another one before I retire."
Yeah.
So, because Bennett does have an ego, so he wants to get that. He wants to get another premiership.
Yeah.
So he's obviously signed Lodge, thinking he's a great player. I know he's got issues. I know this is going to be challenging, but I'm the one that can fix it. And I think and like you said, they keep it under wraps because their main priority is winning football games.
Yeah.
They're not interested
and
in the
I think
media
that's
service.
why they hold the stigma of being, like, even though they haven't won a competition for ever and a day. When it was 2006, was it?
Yeah. 12 years ago.
Yeah. So, and have been in one grand final a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Since that time. But they've still always held that position of success, winning, just the professionalism.
Yeah.
That has never changed.
No.
Even through that period of post Henjack into Griffin. Like it still was
There was
that little bit of a low point, but there was still, they never lost.
No.
Because obviously it's because they are a club in a major
Massive
city, and
they've got a lot of expectations.
they've got the monopoly.
And they've got the resources.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's exactly how a club should deal with it. They're there to protect the player.
Yeah, look, I think that it's good for a club to be transparent as well with stuff sometimes. But I think when you come out to a season starting, that's not what they're thinking about. They're not focusing on that. They're focusing on preparing for the season, getting their guys ready, and they don't want extra distractions from Matt Lodge. He knows what he needs to do now. He knows that this will never be forgotten.
No.
You can't erase it. It's already happened, and it was disgraceful.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking anything away from that. But what he does from here on out is gonna be what defines him later on.
Exactly.
So he's got plenty of time. That's the thing. He's only 23, 24. It's not like he's 32 and he's done this. He did it when he was 23 and he did something similar when he was 26 and he's done this. He's done a couple of things when he was young, something really stupid. He was on the piss. Now it's time for him to grow up and move forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Well, it's all going to be revealed. I don't think as far as football goes, you can be under more pressure coming into a Broncos side that, let's face it, is struggling with forwards.
Depth.
Depth. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, undoubtedly, there's a little bit of an agenda there to get Lodge in their side simply because he did sign for so cheap.
Yeah.
There's no dancing around that fact. But should the Broncos be punished because he wanted to stay at a club for a quarter of the price than what he could have fetched on the open market?
Yeah.
I don't think so necessarily. So
Well, put it this way. Everyone, like Paul Kent and Ben Eichen and stuff, were talking about it the other night. And they're criticising him for taking the minimum wage, not taking the 400 grand. But I think that just says that he wants...
What's that trying to fucking hammer him about?
That's right. It's totally the opposite of what they were saying. I think that it shows that he wants to improve, he wants to change, and he trusts the Broncos system for him to make a change. Like, yes, he owes $1.6 million, and yes, he hasn't paid any off from that, and I'm not too sure why, and that does surprise me. I'm not really overly happy about that, but I think that what needs to happen first for him is he needs to change first and get into these good habits and be the person that he can be. Then he can worry about the money.
Yeah. And I think it's important then that I would love to see either the Broncos or the NRL come out and say, look, that they've been in contact with Matt Lodge and they've set up a structure that is going to ensure this family X dollars every X amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I think that shows, as long as there's progress,
I think
people want to see fucking progress.
That's the only thing that disappoints me a little bit about it, is that there hasn't been any transparency from the Broncos about it.
Yes.
If they would have just put that out and bury the hatchet.
Even say that they're fucking just talking about it. We are
just
sorting this out.
Just mention it.
Yeah.
Just mention it and say, look, just stop the rumours. We are sorting it out. We don't want we don't want to do anything wrong by the people that he's affected. So it is happening. Let's play footy.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of let's play footy, we've been speaking on this topic for 20 odd minutes now. So let's move forward. Let's ditch it. I think we both had our 2 cents worth. And yeah, fuck, I don't know about you, but it feels like the off season sort of just kept dragging for a while. I'm super, super excited. I don't feel like we've been privy to a season with so much change.
Never.
As far as player roster goes, with power brokers of the game.
Yeah.
Like, so many clubs have got so many different players. We've got, Cooper Cronk going to the Roosters, James Maloney going to the Panthers, Matt Moylan going to the Sharks, Blake Green going to the Warriors. You've got Pierce going to Newcastle. Like, it's crazy.
Crazy. Ben Hunt going to the Dragons.
Yeah, Dragons, we will cover shortly.
Team. Yeah.
Man, it's full on. There's so much movement, so much to go through. So,
and I guess just to quickly touch back, that's the only thing that disappoints me about the media leading up to this is that all the focus has been on Matt Lodge and a few other incidents. Nothing really about first game of the round. We've got Ben Hunt playing against his old team.
True.
There hasn't been enough hype, in my opinion, about
footy,
the actual footy. And so I feel like the media are doing the game a disservice by focusing on these things that just get headline and get clicks on social media instead of actually promoting the game, which is what the media was even involved in the game for originally.
Yeah, which is contrary to, a lot of the stuff that Paul Kent goes on about. He fucking constantly bags out the NRL. It's
constantly.
Like, but you're not talking about any fucking good news stories. Like, you're always just bringing up shit. Like, let's focus on some fucking wins. Like you said, the excitement.
The players and the tries and everything like that. Let's focus on the contact and everything like that. The things that actually bring people to the game and make people want to go to the game instead of just constant drama. Yeah. Yeah, it's a media circus at the moment, and again, it's part and parcel of this social media bubble that we've got our society embroiled in at the moment, and unfortunately, it's not something that's going to disappear. Hell, without it, we wouldn't be here talking to you guys right now, so we can't fucking preach to the choir too much. But let's dive into some footy. So we're different. It's all good.